Welcome to GalacticConnection.com, one of the most popular blogs on the World Wide Web today for alternative news. Stay tuned for the latest information on our world shift from enslavement to galactic involvement, as well as current intel on any blockages impeding us from our sovereign birthright. Knowledge and self-mastery are key at this time. Our commitment is to present you with the latest breaking conspiratorial articles, off-world messages, exopolitics, cutting-edge technologies and sciences, and also an ever-significant intertwining of spiritual support and metaphysical scope that one needs to dive down the rabbit hole in search for truth with balance. We are truly on the horizon of a new golden age filled with the promise for more love, worldwide peace, and accelerated intuitive skills, where every living being can exist in cohesion and abundance. It is whatever we envision and dream this new world to be. I say to you now, let's redefine the new world to the beginnings of our own precious heaven on earth. Galactic Connection is here to provide the pulse of Mother Earth through an eclectic range of interviews each Tuesday afternoon from 3 to 4:55 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, Station 2 on BBS Radio, expanding your perspectives on how we can once and for all take back our freedoms, our joy, and our connection with our mighty I Am presence. Our intention remains true to connect hearts and minds everywhere in order to obtain global unity and galactic and universal acceptance. Our discussions will continue to cover anything to do with galactic society and our involvement with our galactic brothers and sisters. Our guests are experts in their fields, and our radio shows have been coined as some of the most thought-provoking out there. In addition to our daily blog, which runs 365 days a year, we also offer a realm of healing services such as our world-renowned implant removal processes, our spiritual past life clearings, our galactic violet ray alchemy from Alexandra, who shares in the lineage of Merlin, and other cutting-edge healing technologies. Check our site out at GalacticConnection.com now, sending you a wave of light, love, and inspiration, and a personal hug and thank you for listening to our Galactic Connection radio show and visiting our blog today. Good evening, everyone. This is Alexandra Metters of GalacticConnection.com. And I just want to first say that if you haven't noticed, my color on my video screen is really yellow. I don't understand why, but I am recording it in the evening, and I normally don't do that. It's been a long time since you've probably heard from me. I believe the last message was in September. And what has normally been every single week of providing you one interview after another has really changed into background work around the clock for me. And this is probably, in my opinion, the most quintessentially important video I have ever done. I hope that all of you will share this far and wide. I have so much to review, I don't even know where to get started. And so many changes have occurred in my own life that I would like to share with you and be able to assist you as much as I possibly can. I do want to thank all of those that have been following Galactic Connection for over, let me see, what is it, 5 or 6 years now? Wow. We started in February of 2012, so we're almost coming up to the 6-year mark next February. So I want to thank everyone. We are definitely one of the most popular blogs out there for the type of venue that we provide. And as you know, there's so many great ones out there, but we really attempt to provide you a really good snapshot of the day through the lens of providing you the most basic and important and significant pulse of the world, and doing it through the connection to Creator. So I'm really very, very grateful for my position. I take it very seriously, what I bring forth to the rest of you. I know that a lot of you that follow Galactic Connection are also fellow healers and practitioners and shamans and bloggers and you name it. We're all trying to do our best to get the information out. But tonight is quite unique. I have been prodding Creator for quite some time to be able to provide more disclosure and a more clear perspective of what truly happened in very, very ancient times. And I truly don't think anyone has this information out there. I am excited to be able to finally be given permission to share this with you. It is a direct letter from Prime Creator, who you all know I call PC. And so it's very long. I ask you to grab a drink, kick back, and enjoy the ride. The tone of this message is very different than all of his others, and that is because we have reached the end of this game. There is more of a tough love, which he states, and more of a paternal love, rather than what we have been so used to with the very soft, light, fluffy love of the mother that we have all felt within the spiritual community. I ask all of you to understand, do not, please, blame or harass or, I don't know, respond to me. I am strictly the messenger. And I take it very seriously that we provide this information to you as accurately, as succinctly, and as timely as possible. Time is of the essence, and therefore tonight could not be a more significant night. Now, we received this information on the 10th of December. Tonight I'm recording on the 11th of December, and probably this won't hit the internet until tomorrow the 12th, just to be clear. Now, before I dive into his message, there's several things that I want to cover. There are so many different stories going out there regarding some of the hot news that we continue to be bombarded with. As PC has told me, sit back, grab the popcorn, and watch the dominoes fall. And that is truly where we are. Now, what does that mean and how is that different than before? It's because so much clearing work has been done on the planet that it is allowing all of the chips to fall where they may. It is allowing all of the density and darkness to be exposed very rapidly after the time that we do the work. We've noticed that the work that we've been doing and behind the scenes usually takes about 10 to 14 days to surface. And now we're noticing it's literally within hours. It's very cool. So as you know, I've been a huge proponent in exposing the child sacrifice, sexual ritual of children. It is very near and dear to my heart. And it's primarily because I know in basically every one of my prior lifetimes, I suffered the consequences of that being done to me. And I saw many others that had experienced the same thing. I know that I came into this life making damn sure that I was able to expose this and bring it to an end. And I know that I have done my bit to be able to assist in that way. I thank all of the healers and light workers and energy workers that are around the world doing similar work, because without our dedication on the ground, it never would have happened, folks. They truly could not have done this without the boots on the ground. That is absolutely positively true. And don't ever second guess that it's not. So One of the things that I've been hearing a lot from individuals is the energies are really nice, but they're also causing a lot of people to feel almost unhinged, as if they don't have a feeling of purpose, of why be here, feeling unfulfilled, feeling like, what's the purpose to moving on in the future plans? And there's a very good reason for that. And that is because we really aren't supposed to be focusing on future plans, folks. We need to fully understand that we are at the end of this game. This is not anymore about saving the planet or, I don't know, keeping everything alive and going. Truly, it is to our benefit to accept that Gaia, Tara, Sophia have all happily released this earth domain or shell, and they are happily ready to take this leap with us. So remember, this is just energy, but at the same time, it's extremely toxic, very contaminated, and very distorted. Could PC fix it? Sure. But is it worth it? It would probably take a couple years, and he can use his resources in such a much more effective way. And it is time for all of us to move on. Now, remember, in all the prior Prime Creator messages, we've been here for 350,000 quadtrillion times 10,000 millennias. Okay, that's millennias. That's 25,000 year cycles. I don't even know what the number is for that, but that's how long we've been doing this. So there is, I would say, quite a bit of pressure, not only from us down here, but from above to get this done. And the exciting part is we're getting it done. Now, because there is somewhat of a feeling of almost a compression, people are really starting to notice changes on the internet with some of your main profilers, like your Hollywood people, your politicians, especially your newscasters and media. You're noticing that there's videos more and more of coming out where people are literally just kind of spacing out, zoning out, looking out into the sky, not knowing where they are, or fainting. If you saw the one video that was put up on Galactic Connection, it was mind-blowing. Somebody had done an excellent job to research a lot of different newscasters around the world, and it was one fainting scenario after another. Every single one of them was almost identical. Why, right? And this is because these programs and these miscreations have been uncreated by PC. These people that we think are real, but they're actually cloned. They don't have necessarily a divine spark. They are going to go bye-bye. So you're going to see more and more of those. You're also going to see people snapping. I have to share this story. I was on a plane coming back from Australia, and it was pretty mind-blowing to watch a gentleman next to me literally snapping right in front of me. And I'm not sure if I told you this before, but I'll just go ahead and say it again. He started singing out loud for minutes, you know, Jesus is the way. And I mean, it was super loud, sharing it with this entire humongous plane. The stewardesses didn't know what to do. Then he went into a cycle of complete looks of paranoia and rage. and was glaring at people, and he was picking fights with people. And then he started twitching, and he started doing this kind of thing. And that got worse and worse and worse, to the point where he barreled down the aisleway. And the next thing we found out, he was screaming in the back, and he tried to commit suicide by putting a plastic bag over his head. He had to be restrained for almost the entire flight from Hawaii to California. And it created a big ruckus. It was just over the top. The reason I'm bringing this up is this is going to become more normal than not. You're going to have more and more people snapping, either because they haven't done any work at all, or they haven't faced the music about what's about to happen. And bodies are changing. Bodies are starting to break down if you haven't increased your light quotient, if you have not worked on your spiritual aspects. The body is really going to start feeling it. I have a next door neighbor who has been in and out of the hospital, who suddenly, out of the clear blue sky, started having tremors, to the point where every time she goes to the hospital, they say they don't know what caused it. 3 or 4 times now she's been in there, and they can't tell her what is really causing this. The bottom line is the nervous system is definitely taking a hard hit right now, especially if you've been in any kind of cycle of high anxiety or high fear or repetitive patterns of obsession, compulsion, that kind of thing. These are all basically kind of like hitting a wall with this absolute huge influx of light that's coming into the planet. In fact, PC just, he just released one, I think he just released a huge surge of frequencies probably about 5 days ago. So every time this happens and he feels that it's the right time, you're going to start seeing a little bit of a repercussion from that regarding how people handle these shifts and changes. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that. Now, the other thing is all the sonic booms. And I've seen all these videos about explaining this and that and the other, and there's big wars out there and all this stuff. And I'm telling you right now that the wars that people are referring to have to do with their own individual timeline that they've chosen to stay stuck in. There are no more galactic wars. Those have been cleared. Okay? If they weren't clear, we would not be at this final hour getting ready to take the big leap. I can tell you that with complete confidence. Now, the sonic booms are a really exciting thing. Many of you know that when a ship enters our airspace, it creates a sonic boom. So use your creativity and think about why that is. There are articles all over the internet talking about this, that people are mentioning that people are disappearing and that they are absolutely sure that there are people that have ascended, and that is very true. So don't get discouraged and think that this isn't really happening, and don't get discouraged and think that your time is not coming, because there isn't one person on this planet that is not going to leave. And I'm going to say that again. Every single one of us is leaving planet Earth as we know it. So another thing is you're going to hear from a lot of people, I've been hearing this as well, that there's a little bit more testiness, frustration, irritation in the air. And that's been going on for the last couple of weeks. And a lot of this is especially because of the massive amount of exposure regarding child trafficking, child sacrifice, and the actual open disclosure from Hollywood stars that, infants are inside people's refrigerators so they can eat their flesh and drink their blood. I mean, these are things we have known about, but they are now becoming mainstream, I'm going to say alternative news. And if they don't get covered up, they might even enter Fox News. And what's that other news channel? America News or something like that. Got to check it out if you haven't. They have some much more candid coverage of what's going on in the White House. Now, Trump, in my opinion, is doing an absolutely outstanding job. Now, I might take some heat for that, but I'm going to tell you right now, he is fully connected with the galactic realm. He is working with them, and he is doing things that may not make sense to you, but they have a very specific purpose. For example, the announcement that he made that he was going to move the capital to Jerusalem and the embassy. And he said 3 prior presidents have tried to do this and were not able to do it. And he made absolutely sure he's going to get this done. Now, I want everyone, whoever you are and wherever you are, step out of your immediate environment. Try and look at his actions galactically, because that's where we're at. In this message from Prime Creator, you're going to hear the end is the beginning and the beginning is the end. That's where we're at. So we really need to start looking at all the things that are unfolding in front of us from a galactic perspective at the beginning of what we call the game. Why? Because Jerusalem was an absolutely crucial location for the attempt to bring peace on this planet, as you know, through Jesus. This is a time loop, and he is attempting to close that time loop. And there are a myriad of other reasons behind the scenes. I say to all of you that I have never, in all the time I've been reading the news, listening to alternative news, I have never seen anyone so abused, so disrespected, and so annihilated by the press and the media as Trump. And get away with it. And it's not about personal likes and dislikes. It's about this gentleman actually going up against the darkest, deepest, most vile, corrupt, insensitive, and invasive network ever to exist. That's a tough job. And he trained, I hear, for 1,000 years or so to take this on. It was, it was quite an undertaking. Let me turn off my phone, sorry. So, remember that this is an extremely difficult, challenging position to be in, because no matter what he does, which he's actually accomplished a lot in a year. I mean, just shutting down TPP, and I don't know if you guys caught what's really going on as far as his announcement when he went to Utah regarding the national monuments. There are so many reasons behind that. Remember to look into jurisdictions and territories. This is very key. And also remember to look at it galactically. Look at it all countries, not just being an American or a Mexican or a Canadian or, you know, a whatever, right? Oh, it's crazy. So anyway, that is really important. And the politicians, as you're noticing, are starting to out each other, which is what we've been waiting for a very long time. And I think it's going to accelerate to the point of, I think you're like me, it's difficult to even keep up with the news. It's so difficult that, in fact, you know, a lot of times I think my bloggers are trying to decide what is the most important things to post, because there's so much going on right now. The entire matrix is collapsing right in front of us. These are the moments we've been waiting for, and I say bring it on. It's just fabulous to see it. I think we're all hanging on pins and needles regarding Soros, Hillary. You know, those two are very biggies. Bill Gates, he's another one. Just quite a few of them. But anyway, now the other thing I wanted to mention was, you've heard they constantly talk about climate change. And with all of the California fires that have gone down, which is also, boy, there's some stuff behind that. Jerry Brown very strangely said, well, you know, this is all about climate change. And I thought, that was very strange, because everyone knows that if they look into it, a lot of these fires are from direct energy weapons. And there's a lot of evidence out there to prove that that is the case. And I just thought to myself, you know, I'm going to look this up. So get this. I looked up climate. And climate means prevailing trend of the public opinion, the atmosphere of the mood. So basically, once again, they're thumbing right in front of our faces and saying, oh, well, you know, basically, whatever you expected as peaceful, harmonious, hey, I'm going to be able to go to my home and not be harassed, and I'm going to be able to, you know, live in a place and not worry about getting it burned out. Hey, that's changing, you know. And the flip side of that is, we are no longer in an environment where this will continue on without they themselves, that are the plotters and the planners, to reap the repercussions of their actions. So just remember, everyone, that this is truly all unfolding at this time. This is probably going to be the greatest Christmas ever in the history of any of our lives. And I think the main thing to remember now is, how do we find peace? How do we not get overwhelmed with all the information? And how do we use the rest of our time here before we're out of here as best as we can? So now what I want to do is, I was contacted by Creator. What started out as a conversation where he wanted me to create an essence. He connected to it, and he distributed it all over the world. And it's just, it's such a profound essence. I said, oh my God, this is beautiful. I mean, when I make master formulas, there's just no way I myself could ever come up with the profundity that comes through me when I create these essences. They're just incredibly beautiful. It's such a gift. And this one, he actually asked me, when I prodded him about it, that he agreed that it would be an excellent idea to get the boots on the ground that feel compelled to take it. And so before I go into his message, I wanted everyone to please check this out. Now, it's called Breaking Down the Barriers. I don't know if that's even clear because I'm telling you, man. Okay. This is the essence and this is the oil. Okay. This is the 10 milliliter. We also have a 5 milliliter oil, and this is a 1 ounce, and we also have 2 ounce. And this essence was designed to expedite our inevitable leap out of here. Okay. So, I was like on it. I was motivated, let me tell you. And it's to assist us in acting as conduits to literally illuminate and exude this particular frequency from this formula that I created with PC. And the other thing that he really wanted to suggest is that this is going to assist those that take it. Yes, it will assist you in blowing through any other kind of stuck, undone, deep-seated energies that you haven't really perhaps seen or felt, but it's really going to assist those around you. It's designed to help unstick those that have been really transigent. They're not going to have it. They're not going to own their stuff. They're just kind of stuck in their own game, and they're not even thinking about, where they're going next. And these types of people are in all of our lives. I know it's kind of frustrating for some of us because we love them, and at the same time, we just can't seem to reach them. So please check this out. There is a page on the website. I believe there's a banner up there. And I have taken another $10 off of each one. So the 1 ounce, 2 ounce, even the 4 ounce, and the 5 and the 10 milliliter are all $10 off of the normal pricing. The main thing I want to stress to all of you is the fact that we are exposing so much sexual abuse. It is unbelievable how much is coming out into the news now. I'm so grateful. But you also have to remember that these are really deep, deep wounds of the all. That's affecting every single one of us. I don't care if you're male or female. I don't care if you've ever experienced this or you haven't. Every one of us is getting hit energetically from the anguish and the pain and the suffering that's being exposed and being brought forth, even the rage and the torment and memories that we really don't consciously have, but our cellular memory does, if you know what I mean. So this was designed to heal that inner child, that inner deep ancient wound, and also at the same time really assist people in becoming, unstuck, who are struggling and they are overwhelmed, kind of like a deer in headlights. So check it out. Okay. Now, with that said, I'm going to go ahead and read this message. It's pretty long, and I'm also going to provide it in written form, so feel free to print it out. And remember, I'm the messenger, okay? It's really awesome because you're going to have so much more understanding and so much more clarity as to how this all began. Okay, here we go. So hello, my children. The time has come for me to relay more truth and transparency in my series of Prime Creator messages. Through this letter, you will gain an understanding that mishaps do occur in higher planes of existence, but only continue playing out in much lower realms. I would also like to clarify that when you read I in this letter, it is representing me, the Prime Creator. Today, I am providing you additional soft disclosure on simple, basic questions, such as why you ended up on Earth, and how did life on Earth really come about? How did you end up here for such an incredibly long time? That of 350,000 quadtrillion millennias times 10,000. Remember, as previously stated, one millennia is equivalent to 25,000 years in your time. As you can see, this is a ridiculously long period of time you have been in the game. I am relieved to announce that it was not until recently that Jack, one of my children, from the very beginning of the game, has completed his work and willingly took full ownership and responsibility for his own creations and miscreations. To my elation, an aspect of James stepped forward and worked diligently with me as well, so we could finally shut this game down. You will learn more about why and how the roles of James and Jack are so significant. In addition, someone at each level of involvement in the game has been willing to invest a great deal of their time and effort working directly with me and in taking full ownership, understanding, forgiveness, and clearing work. One of the immediate benefits of this completion is the shutting down of the seemingly never-ending time loop that all of you have been in for, once again, 350,000 quadrillion times 10,000 millennias, apparently offering no exit whatsoever. Many have pondered why it has taken so long to get this game shut down and why I don't stop it sooner. Before I answer that, let me be clear that this can be challenging to provide you a thorough understanding when time doesn't really exist, and that includes past, present, and future. Things happen simultaneously, vertically, and not horizontally or linearly. With that said, all information will be presented in an easy-to-understand manner, but I caution you that this is only the tip of the iceberg. We cannot possibly review every single event that has transpired and every miscreation created by each of you over the course of the 350,000 quadrillion times 10,000 millennias. Each of you will be required to understand and comprehend the tip of the iceberg that I am sharing with you today in order to receive the healing and clearing work already completed for all of my creations. Many remember that Alexandra has reminded you multiple times to repeat this as often as you are called to do so. And it goes like this: I accept and receive all the healing and planetary work that has been done for me, all the aspects of my being and my lineage. It is done. Thank you. Since work is incessantly being done on your behalf, I suggest you state this as often as you can, especially once a day. This healing literally sits upon your head etherically until you fully understand it. Ask to accept and receive it, and not a minute sooner. For example, the level of comprehension amongst all of you in the game must include what choices you have made that have harmed yourself, others, and how these choices have affected the greater good of the all is. If you do not understand these core themes and choices, the work will be waiting for you when you are ready. If you have not fulfilled previous agreements you made when you came to Earth, agreements to finally take responsibility for your participation in the game, and all choices you have made, you and you alone will have to deal with it and all it has created. I have, however, cleared over 95% of this work with a willing participant on Earth that was not completed by any other parties, meaning any other participants or volunteers alike. Her countless hours of work with me have provided all of you a gift for those who desire to get started on their path to ownership and healing. But for clarification purposes, I must succinctly state that I will not be held responsible nor take responsibility for anyone else's creations, miscreations, misqualified energies, and karmic debt any further, meaning the rest of your individual clearings must be done by you. So, let's go into more detail about how this all began. What started as an innocent exchange amongst a couple of children grew into an unrelenting virus that grew out of control affecting 75 worlds, all of the children, and all of the creations within those worlds. In fact, it got largely out of control due to the Big Bang you've heard so much about, affecting all 75 worlds in 1/10 of a second, and instantaneously creating a time loop for all in these 75 worlds within this one sector before it was contained by me. So those most affected by this devastating event have been in a contained space and sector containing a copious number of other sectors. Again, remember, a sector consists of one stellar galactic, 13 cosmoses, 13 galaxies, 13 universes, a planetary system, and a solar system. Okay, so think about that. Think how big this is. Are you grasping how massive the game really is, which you so often refer to as the Matrix? The time loop was actually originally quite short, but spiraled out of control with a downward coil of descension from the 485th dimension to the third dimension without exit, and again in 1/10 of a second. What I shared in prior messages was a depiction of later versions of what actually occurred at the very beginning. The Big Bang, or CERN, are the particle collider technologies, were and are all extremely destructive creations that generate a descending downward cycle within a vortex, producing an opening within an opening within another opening, and so on, much like the Russian nesting dolls. A complete separation occurred within all things which sucked them into the downward spiraled vortex, because every creation was backward vacuumed and very fragmented. Another key contribution to this separation was what was going on with the children at my school and office. One of the older children, James, a teenager of your understanding, mischievously removed one of my unfinished schematics where I had drawn the beginnings of a water planet. And without realizing what it would ultimately create, the children wrote all their names on the schematic in response to James' promptings. This seems like an innocent enough act. However, you need to understand that when the children took the schematic, it created quantum entanglement. And review prior messages regarding this if you don't understand what quantum entanglement is. You see, James, the teenager, had decided to create the game and promoted its purpose as a way for my children to play and make it more fun to learn. He believed that my methods of training were outdated and slower than necessary, and had ideas of his own on how to expedite learning. There was also another child named Jack, who was around the age of 7, who was also having some challenges with James, which developed into an exasperated feud. When James approached me with an idea of creating the game for accelerated fun and learning, he also suggested that the game would facilitate a resolution between the cohorts, James and Jack. I agreed to it with the intention that this would be helpful and healing for all of my children, no matter their age. Unfortunately, James had a sinister, ulterior motive, and his request was full of impure and distorted intentions. He had already penned a storybook for the game entitled The Experiment of How to Create Resolution Between Two Cohorts. That alone sounds well intended. However, here are some of the items included in his storybook for the game that were not fully transparent until later. First one is, what were supposedly innocent rules of the game written by James ended up being quite divisive between the children and their creator, me. Next, it stipulated that no one was able to go to me for help or ask me a question directly. They always had to go to James for help. If they did come directly to me, we found out later they would have to answer to James and suffer the consequences. Another, all the children who participated came from 75 worlds within the sector. James told the children whatever they wanted to hear so that he could recruit as many of them as he could to agree to be part of the game. James was a good salesman, convincing them that the game was on the road to faster spiritual growth, abilities, and even time travel. James also offered faster learning methods through interfacing with technology. He also suggested that they would be their own teachers with everyone's help and promoted shortcuts. He told everyone that he wanted to show the Prime Creator that this was the new way, the better way, a more updated way to educate beings. James told the children that this was also approved by me, the Prime Creator. He even provided the children with a forged document displaying the Prime Creator's signature. And James was immediately setting up and implementing these rules without the approval from Prime Creator. Many had spoken with me the day before and had no knowledge of James's true intentions, and considering they were younger children, they never checked the authenticity of James's game and immediately agreed to it. James' lies and deception were blindly accepted by not only the children, but the 75 co-creators of 75 worlds, all of their children, and all of their creations. A large community of my creations had bought into James' game without full comprehension and understanding of what they had signed up for. This quickly created the beginning of a hierarchical system, the pyramid scheme, the sleight of the hand methods, deceptive practices, and pathological lying. James wrote all of the children's names on the schematic, including what role they would play and what they would do in the game. This is literally where fairy tales and children's storybooks come from, and what many parents recite to their children on Earth. When the game commenced, all 75 co-creators were involved, plus James and Jack. And unknowingly, I got drawn in because they took my schematic and used it as the game board without my permission. Remember, that schematic had my energy signature on it and therefore became entangled in this game. James also intentionally prompted Jack to step into one of his technological experiments, which was a particle collider, to launch Jack into time travel within the game. However, it was only an experiment and had never been proven to work before. The tragic result of this was Jack got blown up into a million pieces, shattering him and binding his shattered parts to everyone else in the game. All were now bound together like a checkerboard. The other travesty was 3 other planets were also blown up, including everyone on them. These other planets were also bound to the schematic James had stolen out of my office, and all those who had written on the schematic. This was an unparalleled quantum entanglement. All those whose names were on the schematic would now become a game piece themselves, and eventually part of a landmass on the schematic. This was because as each being descended, they transitioned from a crystalline-based structure that was free-flowing energy into a solidified and compressed structure of carbon-based energy. This calamity also created polarity, separation of self, and the development of the mind. It was also agreed upon that certain participants and co-creators in the game would remove their hearts of crystal before the game began, cutting themselves off from all communication and love from their own creator. This also fractured me since I created them. The first creation of dark matter was created from this event and invaded all who participated in the game like a virus does its host. This in turn created the shadow side of all participants. And again, another new miscreation took form, the ego of darkness, inflating itself with impure thoughts. It is true that your thoughts do create your reality, so if your thoughts are impure, you allow more dark matter into your being. And when your impure thoughts gain momentum, such as obsession and monkey mind, etc., they can create a hamster wheel effect of energy, rippling out to all around you and affect them as well. One of the more prevalent points to make regarding the explosion within the particle collider was James's misuse of technology with the intention to increase spiritual growth. Not only did this event lead to an obsession in your society with incorporating technology into everything, but then led to artificial intelligence, transhumanism, cloning, and eventually the very extinction of all of you. The irresponsible use of technology within the game has propelled us to the brink of being completely wiped out once again, as has continually happened in prior time loops. James' insistence on preventing any co-creators, children, or creations from going directly to me for help and advice led to a spiritual hierarchy all of you have become so comfortable with. Even today, so many enlightened beings go to their guides and teachers, ascended masters, archangels, ET advisors, etc., for a divine connection and spiritual assistance. This all came about from the game where no one was taught or allowed to go straight to me. And eventually the game became such an entanglement of programs that many forgot to go straight to their creator. James is the false creator that so many of you are connecting with. I was shut out of the game at the very beginning, but I have always been here for my children and my creations. Now that you have a basis of what happened from the beginning, the 485th dimension, to the reality you are in now of the third dimension, you should also understand that the beginning is the end, and the end is the beginning, meaning that what you see in your reality right now is a representative version of the beginning. All of you agreed to be here at this time in this contained space until all was figured out, all was healed, and all took ownership and responsibility for what they created in the game created by the children. This disappointing truth is mostly all of my children have still not taken ownership. Here are the beginning choices made by James and Jack that created the events, anomalies, the Big Bang, and so much destruction you live in today. James was unable to make shapes with his wand without breaking the line. All the children are required to learn how to work with energy, bending it, moving it, and shaping the energy. It needs to be free-flowing and one continual source or form of energy. It should never be a force shape, or bound by force, or rigid, or broken streams of energy bound together to make a shape. This was so all the children can learn softness and how to work with a source or form of energy with gentility, respect, and appreciation. It was never intended to be wielded to your will or forced to break from its natural shape outside the confines of natural law. Jack wanted to help James with his learning abilities and made the choice to assist him with the basics of how to make his creation wand work in order to create platonic solid shapes. While Jack believed it was okay to help James and demonstrate to him how to make these shapes, there was incorrect information shared with James because Jack was a student too and still learning. With this said, James failed his test on the exercise Jack assisted him with and furiously went straight back to Jack, blaming him for his failure. Jack sadly observed that James' wand still had not worked throughout the test, and because of it, James got so angry that he broke his own wand after the test. Jack felt so sad and perhaps guilty about this that he handed him his own wand, telling James to show him the shapes that he made that they had worked on together before the test. He was able to make all the shapes successfully, so Jack told James to go back to my office and retest the next day with Jack's wand. James passed the test without a hitch using Jack's wand. Jack and James were in quite a predicament because they still had to figure out what to do about James's broken wand. James was now demanding that Jack gave him his wand permanently, and through his bullying, Jack found himself without a wand. There were consequences to this, and they both knew that. They ended up asking another older student named Jeff for help, who agreed to give Jack his wand, and here is what they did. Since Jack's wand was now James's wand, and Jeff's wand was now Jack's wand, Jeff took the broken wand to my office and claimed he broke it and exchanged it for a new one. This all looks pretty innocent enough, right? But here is what this chain of events created, and some points to consider. 1. A student showed another student what to do that was not 100% right, but thought it was right. Then he didn't understand why James's wand still wasn't working properly, and James failed his test. In truth, James's thoughts were not pure and not focused. The creation wand only works with pure thoughts and pure focus. This teaches a being how to create with the utmost of purity in their creations, meaning without distortions, interference, insertion of other things and thoughts in the creation itself, quantum entanglement, miscreations, or misqualified energies in their creations. 2. Upon failing the exercise test with the wand, James became outraged with Jack because he failed his test with his own wand. Upon that failure, James became enraged, angry, feeling betrayed, paranoid, set up to fail, and many more negative emotions. He also took no responsibility for his own failure, blaming Jack for everything. 3. James then went to Jack to express these emotions and demanded that Jack give him his wand that had worked previously when they were doing the exercise together. Jack, feeling badly, sadly agreed to it without really understanding why James' wand didn't work. Originally, Jack had loaned his own wand to James, asking him to show him what he did in the test so he could see what had happened in order to solve the problem. When James did this, everything worked just fine. Jack did not fully understand why this had happened. This is because Jack's wand had already passed the exercise and the approval codes had already been inserted. 4. So when James got Jack's wand and Jack got Jeff's wand, it created a classic example of quantum entanglement, revealing how when you take on someone else's problems as your own and resolve it for them, you actually are taking full responsibility for them, left to continue on with those consequences and never learning anything. You are now left to clean up the mess of another, which leads to self-sacrificing. 5. After I picked up the creation wand, and saw it was not Jeff's but James's by the energy signature, I wondered how Jeff got this wand in the first place. I asked how the wand was broken, and Jeff told me it had fallen off the table and onto the floor. By looking at the wand, I could tell this really wasn't true. I told Jeff that it was not right and said, I am seeing that James broke this wand, so how did you come into its possession? Jeff, you need to come clean with me. Jeff proceeded to tell me what happened with the wands and that he was sorry for lying about it. I asked Jeff not to say anything else about me finding out the truth and that I would take care of the situation in my own way. 6. I actually thought to myself, isn't this an interesting situation we have here? After reviewing what was really going on, I could see that there was another person involved in the broken wand story, so I decided to call them both into my office. Jack and James were each called in separately. I asked Jack to come in first and had James sit outside the door for a moment. I proceeded to tell Jack that a broken wand was turned into my office and if Jack knew anything about it. Jack quickly told me no, that he knew nothing about it, but I asked him again, including that if he had any information, it would be great for him to share it. I even gave him another chance to come clean, telling him that if he remembered anything else to let me know, at which Jack agreed, got up, and left. I then called James into my office and asked him if he knew anything about the broken wand that was turned in. James stated that he knew nothing about a broken wand. I was getting agitated with all the cover-ups and the lying going on, and then asked, James, do you understand what it means to lie about something and how those lies affect you and everyone else? James told me he did understand, but was not really paying attention to what I had said to him because he was so consumed with rage towards Jack, since he truly believed Jack ratted him out. James left my office in a huff at this point. James went straight to Jack and accused him of tattletaling on him to me, which never really happened. Jack said he did not tell Creator anything, but James wouldn't accept it. James stated to Jack, quote, you betrayed me and told on me. Otherwise, how would Prime Creator have known about the wand, unquote. 8. What many of you don't remember is that all students have manuals and periodicals to follow about living, being, learning, and understanding creation itself. These stipulate very specific procedures that I set forth on how you will learn the foundation of creation. Nothing is missed, skipped over, and no shortcut is tolerated. All must be fully understood, fully comprehended, and you must show your Creator that you know and understand each of the exercises before moving forward and on to the next step of learning. This ensures nothing is missed and your creation learning methods are immaculate. 9. The first violation and choice that was made by James from the Policies and Procedures Manual was that James asked Jack, a young student, for help instead of going directly to his Creator for assistance. The second violation of the Policies and Procedures Manual was that Jack agreed to help James, giving his interpretation of the exercise and unknowingly giving incorrect information and instruction to James on how to do the exercise. The student is not the teacher and should never be deemed to replace the wisdom of the teacher, nor should they share information as if it is all true and accurate instruction because it is now second-hand information. In this case, a key piece of information instruction was forgotten by Jack and then not fully understood by him as to what happened and why the wand did not work. The third violation of the Policies and Procedures Manual was giving your wand or any other spiritual tool to someone else to use. Now, here's some specifics on tools and wands. All creation wands distributed to the students match the energy signature of the person it was assigned to. It is only after a being shows me that they have mastered that exercise that an approval code is inserted into the wand, revealing they have mastered that exercise and that they have now completed creation at the most basic level. They have successfully demonstrated that they have learned how to make platonic solids and shapes with one continual line of energy without breaking it. Then they can move on to the next exercise, but only after all prior exercises are mastered with each and every tool a being is given. Each student is given their own toolbox with basic tools to learn from, which all match their individual energy signature. When you give your spiritual tools to someone else, it creates an anomaly and quantum entanglement for both parties. The tool does not match the original person's energy signature and now is combined with someone else's energy signature that has impure thoughts. Therefore, it will not create what was intended, and quantum entangles the energy of both parties and the creation itself. Now, the new creation does not have its own energy signature, but one of quantum entanglement. This new creation, which has come through quantum entanglement, does not have free choice of anything by itself to learn and grow at its own pace. When it wants to make a choice, it can be overruled by its creators. This entanglement leads to limitation, feeling less than, imbalance in natural law, control over another not of their own choice, being overruled, which leads to manipulation of another, enslavement, destruction of one's self, of others, and of creations of their prime creator. The fourth violation of the Policies and Procedures Manual was lying to cover up the truth of what was really happening and holding steadfast to that lie, even after being prompted to come clean. The three students helped one another without their creator's assistance and involvement, and then lied about it, leading to cheating. James never learned how to create properly, which meant all his creations were distorted, miscreations, and misqualified energies. This also contributed to James's creations not being created with pureness, and those creations ended up being disregarded, hidden, destroyed, left alone, abandoned, unattended, and uneducated. All things up until this point have created all the patterns, all the time loops, all the negative emotions you see in your life, your family and their dynamics, your personal relationships, your emotional states, your countries, your world and its leaders, and your interactions with off-world beings. James and Jack were bound together, never to separate until they resolved their problems. But this only works if both parties are willing to show up to participate and find a peaceful resolution. What you see now in your world of upheaval is a direct representation of all of your relationships with the ego, shadow self, twin flame, soulmate, yin and yang, opposites, polarity, and duality. This is really a representation of the quantum entanglement between James and Jack in the very beginning, all made up for the game. Because James never learned how to create anything properly by himself, this event brought forth many distorted emotions. It taught him to bully, lie, cheat, steal, harass, and manipulate his way through life in order to get what he wanted, of which he could not do or obtain for himself. This also taught him to get others to do his work for him, to use others, and to take from others at will. His feeling of discouragement, hopelessness, uselessness, inadequacy, ineptitude, and being less than others augmented, creating more and more miscreations. Some of these negative behaviors gave him a false sense of power and control, which led him to his desire to control other creations. It also led him to shut out his creator and divine connection as well. Now, with this explanation, I have several questions for all of you. Do any of these traits and behaviors sound familiar in the game? Do you continue to participate in emotionally taking time loops with others? Aren't these same tactics what all of you are hoping will be revealed, stopped, and forgotten by Team Dark? Can you see why the theme of master and slave is so extensive in the game? Are you exhausted participating in the game as whatever game piece you chose to play in the very beginning? After 350,000 quadtrillion times 10,000 millennias, are you ready to surrender? No matter what enlightenment level you have, are you willing to release your ego and own that there is far more work to do to clear yourself and your participation in the game? How is the game really working for you? Are you done playing yet? Because I am done, and I am here to notify all of you that this game is coming to an end soon, whether you are done participating or not. I am done with the massive amount of destruction all of my children, co-creators, and volunteers have created, and which continues to affect me, my children, my creations, and all that I have ever created. All will be held accountable for all that they have created. All will be held accountable for their creation, participation, and perpetuation of the game. You will be shown how your choices affected yourself and others. You will attend school until you fully understand why you made the choices you did and how those choices affected you and all other creations. You will need to gain full comprehension and full understanding regarding your participation, and you will not exit this school until you fully own all of your participation in this creations. All of your abilities, attributes, spiritual tools, and free will have been withdrawn and revoked by me indefinitely until such time as you can redeem yourself and show you are a responsible being. Let me state some other very important points to those reading this today. All of you are ascending. All will be going to a place I have chosen for you. All of you must take responsibility for your participation in the creation of the game you created. There are only 7 beings that have completed all of their work. Out of the 2.5 million volunteers that I sent here specifically to help all of you, only 160,000 volunteers completed the work they agreed to do. All of you are participants in the game, or you would not be here right now. And all of you will need to do work to clear 350,000 quadrillion times 10,000 millennias of whatever you have miscreated. Is this a reality check for those of you who believe you have done nothing wrong? My children, as your creator, I am giving you a very straightforward message that your world would coin as tough love. It is now time to mature, stop participating in this nonsensical game, and move towards spiritual growth through taking complete personal ownership of your actions and miscreations. Have I made my point very clear with all of you today? It is now time for all to surrender. The game is over. I will be seeing you shortly. And do not harass or kill the messenger who delivered this to you. This is my message to you as your prime creator. I will always love you. Love number 5, prime creator, sector of creation. Wow. And when we got this message, I just was like, bowled over. Now, you're going to want to read this again. There's so much disclosure in this message. I had asked him so many times to release more information so people had a better understanding of why we are in this hell. How did it come about? Where did it start? Who started it? And this gives you just at least some of the more basic constructs of what happened at the very beginning. The great news is he is now telling us he will see us shortly. And the exciting news is we are finally moving on to greener pastures. We all are being told by Prime Creator at this time that we must take full ownership. And all of the healing work that we've done here, all of the spiritual work that we have done here, it's still within the quantum entangled space. And therefore, we still have a lot of work to do. So, I wish you all a wonderful holiday season, a Merry Christmas, Feliz Navidad, Yom Kippur, what are all of them? Anyway, I hope all of you have a phenomenal December of 2017. This is truly a year to remember, and we've gotten through the absolute roughest periods. We made it, we got to the end, and it truly is time to celebrate. So with that, don't forget to check out the essences. For those of you who want to take it on the ground and help with spreading the frequency more rapidly and impacting those around you who you feel are a bit stuck, please do so. And for the rest of you, as always, from my heart to yours, I send you copious amounts of love, warmth, and gratitude for all that you have done for me, and all the support and all of the love and just all the respect that you've given me through all these years. All the hard work is paying off, and it's time for all of us to go. Have a great evening, and I'll see you hopefully really soon. Take care.